Welcome to the latest episode of the Podiatry Business Podcast with myself, Lorcan O'Donaile, podiatrist and health business mentor and clinic owner. So I get asked all of the time by people who are about to start a clinic or just starting a clinic, what should I do, how should I do it, etc. So I decided I'd do a podcast and I decided to title it, Don't Do This When You're Starting Your Clinic. And I'm going to go through the top 5 things you shouldn't do. So, number 1, don't be too cheap. So pricing is fundamental to your business model. And it's something that what tends to happen is clinic owners don't spend any really time or effort thinking about. They have no real strategy when it comes to pricing. So typically what they do, and it's exactly what I did, is they ring around, or in my case I had my then girlfriend, now wife, ring around all the clinics and pretend she was looking for an appointment and find out what the price was. And then I decided I was going to be not too expensive and not too cheap, and I was somewhere in between. And that's not what you want to do when it comes to your pricing, because what you're doing is you're just assuming that those other clinics know what they're doing. And in my experience, they simply don't know what they're doing either when it comes to pricing. So pricing is so fundamental to your profit. And at the end of the day, you're in a business to make a profit. Otherwise, just get a job. So let me give an example of what I mean by this. So let's imagine that you decide you're going to open a business and you're going to open a podiatry clinic and you're going to start charging 40 quid for, say, a routine appointment. Now, if your profit on the 40 quid is 5 quid, because it's 35 quid per, every time you see a patient, on average, it costs you 35 quid to open the doors, pay the bills, pay your staff, etc., etc. Now, the thing is, I know most of you have no idea what your break-even is, but let's just go with this. Let's say you're charging 40 quid and your profit is 5 quid. What you're going to find is that you're probably going to struggle to make enough profit to make it worthwhile. Now, when you're starting off, you'll think, this is great, I'm getting paid. It's my money, I get to keep it all. But no, I'm afraid that's not really what happens, because you got to pay your tax and your wages, etc., etc. So let's imagine instead what you did is you started off, and instead of being the cheapest or close to the cheapest or not too expensive or somewhere in the middle, you decided, I'm going to be the most expensive. I'm going to give a premium price product. And instead you charge 55 euro. Well, then your costs are going to be pretty much the same, or it's for argument's sake they are. Then your profit's going to be 20, which is 4 times more than they were if you were 40. So maybe you haven't increased your charges 4 times, but you've certainly increased your profit by 400%. And this makes things an awful lot easier for you as a clinic owner. And it gives you space to make smarter decisions. You're not rushing to try and see every single patient. And when you have a business that generates greater profit, it makes you and your life an awful lot easier. You can start to reinvest that money in other things that will generate a bigger business and a better business for you as the owner, which is what you're trying to do, because the reason you started your business to begin with was to achieve financial freedom. So make sure that you're not too cheap. My advice is be the most expensive. Somebody has to be the most expensive. So why can't you be? Now, obviously, you can't just be the most expensive and then give a crap model. You've got to give good quality service, but that is a given. Number 2 thing to not do when you start a clinic, don't think word of mouth is going to be enough. And I hear this all of the time. Oh, I only do word of mouth. It's all I need to do. Yes, word of mouth is important. And it is something you should systemize. And when I say systemize, what I mean is you should not just let word of mouth happen and you have no control of it. So ideally what you want to be doing, what I teach my clients to do, is to come up with a system, and we teach them and help them install a system that encourages consistent word of mouth, consistent referrals from past patients and current patients who are happy, consistent referrals, because there's an incentive for them to send you another patient. So for example, in my clinic, we ask them, send us someone else. If you know anyone else has a problem, please send us to work. They don't see any problem with that, our patients. And then if they do, and the new patient comes in and mentions them, we send them a little gift in the post. So in my case, what we do is we send them a gold envelope, and in the gold envelope we have a little golden ticket like you see on Willy Wonka, and it is for a free consult or a free treatment, and they can use it themselves or they can give it to someone else, and it never goes out of date, and it works really well. In the past, we've tried other things like vouchers for this and vouchers for that, and we found that the golden ticket in our case has worked the best. So this is what I mean by systemizing word of mouth. But that is not enough. It is not enough, because if all you do is you use word of mouth, what will happen is, yes, you will grow. You will grow your business probably over the first 2 years or so, but your growth will be slower than it needs to be. And also what will happen is you'll then plateau completely, because there's only so much that word of mouth can do, because it just inherently of itself is going to be something that's going to slow, and your growth will start to really kind of just level off, typically after about 18 to 24 months. So what instead you should be doing is you should learn how to market properly. Learn marketing. Learn how patients choose your clinic over every other clinic, because they're making that decision. And if you learn how they do so, if you learn the psychology of why they choose a particular clinic, well, then you can start to implement that into your marketing, and you can have better quality, more effective marketing. The second thing you need to do is you need to start paid ads as soon as you possibly can. Now, I know when you're starting off a business, you don't have a whole lot of cash and you don't want to spend any money unless you have to. But paid ads will allow you to scale faster. They'll allow you to plug in what the numbers will be. So let me explain to you what I mean and how we do this for our clients. So if a client comes along to us, a clinic owner comes along and they want to grow to X size, let's say they want to get to 20,000 a month turnover. Well, then what we do is we figure out what's the value of a patient, and then how many patients do we need to get that, and then how many leads do we need to get the patients to get to that number. So it's a numbers game. And then how much marketing do they need to spend to get the leads. So for example, if they know that if they spend £300 on a particular Google ad, and they know that it will give them let's say for argument's sake £3,000 at the end of it, well, then they know that they need to spend 7 times that to get to the 20,000. And that's the beauty of paid ads. Once you have them up and running and you start to know your numbers and you know your ROI, you can start to scale it, and it allows you to do so very fast. One particular client that we're dealing with at the moment, who is open just over 2.5 years, has gone from 10 grand a month to 50 grand a month using this system over just under 20 months. So it is possible and something you can do. So word of mouth is not enough. And you think word of mouth is all I need to do. Don't. Third thing you shouldn't do when you're starting your clinic is ask a mate to build your website. So I get it. You don't want to spend any money. You're trying to save as much as you possibly can. But most websites are not very effective. Let me explain to you what I mean. So the research out there, and if you don't believe me, look it up, says that only less than 4% of people who visit a website are ready to act now. And in your case as a clinic owner, is they're ready to act now basically means call me or book online if you have an online booking system, which you should. So that means over 96% of people, probably higher, but 96% of people do nothing. So they come to your site, they do nothing. And unless you have a direct response website in place, you're going to basically waste all of that. So direct response website is a website basically that has options for those who are not ready to call or book now. So maybe it's download a lead magnet. Maybe it's request a conversation on the phone. Maybe it's request a free consultation, stuff like that. So essentially what we do with our clients is we teach them how to build a website. That means that they get the contact details of more people than just the 4% who are willing to book now. So maybe they're getting 8% of the people who land on their website. Now what they do then is once they get those people, what they do is their contact details. And when I say their contact details, what you want is their name, you want their email, and you want their phone number. They're leads. And then what you need to do is you need to nurture those leads in as automated a way as you possibly can, through email, through SMS, through phone calls, etc. And you want to convert them into a patient. Now, for our clients that we do the marketing for, we actually have an AI bot that does that for them. So we have an AI bot that will have a sell by chat or a text conversation with them, triage them, and actually get them to book in. And it works 24/7. 365 days a year. It's great. When you come back in on the Monday morning after being off for the weekend, you can see all these patients are booked in and paid you in advance. Why? Because they had a conversation with a member of staff, which was an AI bot. Now, the results of this is, with a good quality website, is it can make you tens of thousands of pounds or euros every year. So my own website last year made me at least £50,000 from this system, from people who became leads who weren't ready to book or call online. And I'm not just making this up. I can show you this on my website. I can see the names, the emails, and the phone numbers of these people and what happened, how much they spent. That's good quality marketing. So if you think about that, if you were to go off and get yourself a website, so when the websites we do for people are just under €5,000, and it's not cheap. When you are starting off a website, when you're starting off a business, I get it, it's not cheap. £5,000's a lot of money when maybe you're just starting off. But if you have a website that makes you multiples of that every year, and it does it every single year for as long as you have the website, it never takes a day off. It never calls in sick. It never takes holidays at Christmas, any of that kind of stuff. Well, then it's well worth it. And asking a mate to build your website on the cheap is not a good idea. Fourth thing I tell you to do is make sure you get your patients to rebook, or ask your patients to rebook. So what I see happens a lot is you don't ask your patients to rebook. So I go to my dentist, I go to get my teeth cleaned every I think 4 or 5 months, whatever it is. And the hygienist always says to me, oh, you should probably come back in 3 or 4 months. That's it. There's nothing hard or fast, no push on how to do it. They don't make me do it. But I do it anyway, because I know it just happens to be me that I know if I don't book, I'll forget and I won't make the appointment. But it's a really poor rebooking system that they have. How it should be done instead is, firstly, you should make sure that you expect the patient to rebook in the room. You should make sure that's clear. If it's appropriate, if the patient shouldn't come back, obviously don't bring them back. I'm not suggesting bring back a patient. But if you're a podiatry clinic and you've got a routine chiropody appointment, that patient's problem is going to reoccur and they need to rebook at some point. So you need to make sure that that expectation is clear from you inside in the front room, in the treatment room. And then you need to make sure that you walk them to the front desk. You don't say go up to the front desk, because they could get lost. They could decide they're not going to tell the front desk. So you walk them to the front desk and you have a handover where you hand them over to the front desk team and you explain what you need done, as in the rebooking. And you will find you get a significantly better rebooking when you do so. And you've got to measure that. So I'm thinking now of a client who, when I first started talking to him, was like, busy enough, etc., etc. So the first thing we did is we had a look at the rebooking. He'd never looked at rebooking or measured it. So we measured it for a month. And what we found is that 16%, only 16 out of 100 people were actually rebooking an appointment. So we just worked on it. Simply, what was the conversation you're going to have and how you're going to have it, and how you're going to do the handover at the front desk. And we role played and we taught him and his staff all of that. And within 2 weeks, it went from 16% to 67%. Now imagine the change that made to his business over a very short period of time, and it cost him nothing other than learning off, how do I get my patient to rebook? So don't forget to make sure you get your patient to rebook. The fifth and the final one I tell you not to do is, don't believe it when you tell people, I am a podiatrist or a physio, whatever it is you are. So if you open your own business, you are no longer just a podiatrist. What you are now is you are a business owner who delivers a service which happens to be podiatry, physio, etc. Now, I know I'm like maybe splitting hairs, but it's a mindset shift that you need to understand that you are now in business and that it's okay to be in business, and you need to act like you are in business. Because if you don't treat your business as a proper business, it will never provide you the financial freedom you're hoping for when you started it, and it will end up being a stone around your neck, and you will end up resenting it. So you need to put the time and the effort into being as good at running a business as you are at your clinical, which you should be, obviously. So you need to put as much time and effort into the CPD of running your business. You need to invest in yourself, because you are your most important asset. Okay? There's only so many hours in the week that you are available, and you can only see so many patients. So if you want to scale your business, you're more than likely going to probably take on some staff, and you need to get good at managing that business. You need to know your numbers, for example. Like, we go back to what I talked about, your profit and your break even. You need to know these kind of things. You need to know your rebooking rates, etc., etc. You need to learn marketing. That's all part of being in business. And remember, you need to make a profit. You need to make enough profit that it's worth all of the shit that you have to go through running your business, because it isn't easy running a business. That's the truth. And I'm reminded of a speech I heard from the Bank of Dave. So the Bank of Dave, basically, it's an actual guy in England. He owned a bus company, and he started his own business, or his own bank rather. And it is a film on Netflix, but it's true. And I heard him giving a speech, and he basically had 3 rules. Number 1, never make a loss when you're running your own business. Never make a loss. Number 2, never borrow. Now, I don't know if I completely agree with that. Sometimes it can be smart borrowing, but I would say borrow smart. And number 3 is never ever give up. Never ever give up. But if you apply smart business principles and you're smart about how you run your business, just as you are when it comes to doing clinical work, then you can get great results from your business. It can give you a great lifestyle, and you can have a fantastic clinic for you, for your staff, and for your patients. So, hope that helps. This is Lorcan O'Donaile, podiatrist, health business mentor, and clinic owner, signing out. Until next time.